Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani. This is America's Mayor Live, and behind me is Palm Beach, Florida. We thought since we are live from Palm Beach, we would show you how beautiful it is. That is looking basically it's looking northwest. So that's where the sun sets, and over this shoulder right here, this shoulder here. This may move the
Interesting. I think you did.
over this shoulder.
Turn it off again. Okay, don't do that.
Over that shoulder is Mar-a-Lago, and over this shoulder is where the sun will set. So you keep watching me though. Don't pay attention to that. You see a plane go by, and it looks like Air Force One. Make some noise so that I hear you. Okay. We concluded the last show talking about the wine tariff and the liquor tariff war between the United States and the failed states of Europe, and they are putting a 25% tariff on all of our liquors. Now, I don't know if we have any tariff on their liquors right now. I don't know, but our brilliant president wants to put a 200% tariff on all of theirs. I want to call Georgia Maloney because she's a friend of his, and they could just do a little carve out for Italian wines, because I always liked Italian wines better than French wines. And I have a really nice one here. Look. Now, I have it already, so I don't have to pay the 200% tax on it. This is Barola. I like the names better, too. Bordeaux. And Bordeaux's a big phony. So they make Bordeaux in California. Same grapes, same mixture. They've actually won awards over Bordeaux at independent wine shows. But they can't call it Bordeaux because it has to be from Bordeaux on either side of the river. Italian wines are better. And I hope they don't, but if they put the 200% tariff on it, oh man, get just as good wines from California. I can get you some really good bargains on Long Island. Now, I do admit, I will not be dishonest with you that the Long Island red wines do not compare to the California red wines or even Washington and Oregon. But their white wines, and particularly their rosé, I believe their rosé, you can pay half what you have to pay for rosé from Provence, France. And so it's going to be interesting. And you shouldn't be drinking anyway. Not good for you. So this is like, what do they call the taxes on cigarettes and stuff? Sin taxes. So this would mean screw them. Let's put them out of business. Imagine if France lost the American market for wine. Nobody else can afford their wine. They have to bring the price down. Even if they want to sell it in China, they're not going to sell it in China for $1,000 because you call it Bordeaux. It tastes like grape juice. So that's the kind of stuff that these people want to mess around with. He'll wear them down, just like the following. How about this story? But they don't pay much attention to it anywhere because he shows he's winning the tariff wars, right? Well, first of all, he won the tariff war, or we both won the tariff war with Mexico. Mexico's become a better friend. Mexico's doing exactly what we need. Mexico, I think, feels that they used the push to domestically be able to do what they wanted to do, which is to crack down on the cartels. They put 10,000 troops at the border. They've given us remain in Mexico, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, last month he set a record for the least number of entries ever from Mexico. Now, whatever he's doing with Mexico is working, and we never had to use the tariff. So any of you people that got scared in the market and sold stock, you made a mistake. Now, let's see what happens with Canada. Got a new tough guy in Canada. Tough guy. But I don't believe that any people that come out of Canada and the World Economic Forum and all those sissy-bissies are tough. There are a lot of tough Canadians, but they don't go to the World Economic Forum. They're going to cave. They have to cave. We have them by about 8-1. For every $1 of damage they do to us, we can do $8 of damage to them. Just the difference in the size of our economy. They need our market more than we need their products. Simple. They think they're going to get the same price in Europe. Plus, what about the cost of transportation? Oh, gee. I'm a liberal. I never thought of that. The biggest toy maker in the U.S. is enlarging by 50% what he's doing here. Oh, that happened? Just happened? He's taking what he's doing in China. He's bringing it back to the United States. Because I want to pay that 25% tariff. Taking almost everything out of China. Crazy Art Chairman Lawrence Rosen, that appears on all the major websites, including, of course, Amazon, which is the prolific one, right? He's the largest toy manufacturer or toy manufacturer and sales. We're moving a large percentage, almost all of what we've done in China to here, duplicating some machinery and investing in high-speed automation equipment. When Trump announced the higher tariffs on China, it's been full steam ahead, said Mr. Rosen. I'd rather control my own destiny than be subject to the ups and downs and the daily changes in tariffs. Oh, but this doesn't work, says the Wall Street Journal. See, unlike Mr. Rosen, the Wall Street Journal has so far distinguished themselves by, most of them, by running nothing. Mr. Rosen, revenues, he believes, might now double. Trump, no business? Better than the Wall Street Journal? Wait till you see what happens with liquor. Wait. I wonder if everybody has their Jamesons for St. Patrick's Day. I don't think his tariff is going into effect then.
No, not yet.
I have to admit, I'm a Scotch person. I may have to go to bourbon, right?
Yeah.
And then not even bourbon. I'll have to go to Jack Daniels because it's not really a bourbon. Yes, it is. Come on, it's bourbon. It's the same. I've been to both factories. I've been to 3 bourbon factories. I have a bourbon made in my own name, and I've been to Jack Daniels. And if you can tell the difference, you're the drunk.
Yeah.
Don't get angry at me, Tennessee and Kentucky. I do like Scotch better, but I'm a patriot. You know, like Black Lives Matter, when those sports teams started with Black Lives Matter, screw them. I didn't go. Even though it broke my heart. Well, it would be hard using bourbon in place of Scotch, which many people have done recently. But they put this tariff on. I may even pour the Scotch I have out. We'll do a Scotch pouring, and from then on, it'll be
like
Jack
back in the day.
Daniels and what are some of the other? I have some like old. It's coming down here.
Old whiskey?
Old bottles of bourbon that were given to me like special when I spoke in Tennessee and in Kentucky.
Wow.
A lot of people love bourbon. You know, bourbon made a comeback in the last, I'd say, really, it's been about 10 years, right, Stephen?
Wait, bourbon's all? What do you mean 10 years?
Scotch took off in the 90s. And
Okay. I guess maybe in New York. You're thinking New York.
Well, yeah. But there's no place else, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
nobody else really drinks
Yeah.
real liquor except in New York.
Yeah.
So,
So made a comeback in the city.
judging by New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Long Island, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And Washington, D.C.
DC,
I'll
exactly.
have to say that the hill country folk definitely consume a lot of their own bourbon.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah.
But that's the mayor. Don't be fooled. This man spent quite a bit of time in this
3 years in Kentucky.
state of Kentucky.
I don't know. I drink bourbon when I have to.
Yeah, and it has been in vogue for the past while.
It has
certainly,
come. I've noticed.
and tours.
Like I noticed it. But first of all, it's always more popular in Washington than in New York.
Okay, exactly.
It was Harry Truman's drink.
Okay. In DC, bourbon's always been a thing, right? A man goes to the bar and gets a bourbon.
You got it.
Yeah.
And in New York,
I have
Chicago, Scotch is very big in Chicago.
right.
Very, very big.
Japanese whiskey is actually really on the
There's an
rise.
interesting thing about how Scotch gets to be a phony. Japanese make Scotch.
And they actually make
Well,
it
it's okay,
incredibly
okay.
well.
They make it
Okay.
as good. I mean, as good as some of the premium.
Well, they send their kids to get PhDs in Scotch,
Yeah,
basically. and
there are 4 or 5 major Scotch products are better than by far most of the Scotch. So you got to get up into the really 25-year-old and 30-year-old. And one time I was at a Scotch tasting, and they had little things of Scotch that were supposedly $1,000 each. I went, gosh, I wouldn't even try. I'm afraid I'd drop it. Imagine if you dropped a little of it, it would cost you $100.
Yeah. Well, it's like a conspicuous consumption type thing for a lot of people. Like all these consultants want to make it seem like they made it, so they drink their Japanese whiskeys and.
But when
Yeah,
I've
show
gone to
off.
Scotch tastings, I have found that it's legitimate. If it's the $25, $50, $500, there's a
difference.
Oh yeah.
Smoother.
I'm gonna
Oh,
have,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
you
we're
can
gonna see-
taste the wood in some of them. And,
Yeah,
You know.
but I'm looking forward to this. I want to see all these foreign liquors knocked out. I mean, why can't we make the best liquor? It's not a. My father owned a bar, so I know a little about liquors. And in those days, nobody drank Scotch. In those days, it was rye.
Rye.
It was hardly Seagram 7 is rye,
7/7.
and Canadian Club is rye.
Canadian Club,
So-
very
so
big in
Se-
Michigan.
Seagram 7 is the cheaper one. Canadian Club is the
Plenty of Canadian Club is drinking.
like
Crown
Johnny
Royale,
Walker.
they have a rye, a Crown Royale rye.
Yes, also a good one. Yes, Crown Royale has cheap and better.
Yes.
And then the second drink after rye was bourbon, and Scotch was not as
Yeah.
big. This is in the 50s and 60s. Scotch took off somewhere in the 70s. But okay, I
Fun
think that's
fact:
enough.
Canadian Club started
That's
in
enough.
Detroit,
It's going to be interesting to see.
Michigan.
This could flame out like the Mexican thing did, and everybody will say, well, no tariffs, but
Well,
and they did give a list in the Post of some Long Island wines that you could try, and I do notice that every one of them, but they don't make the point because they don't tell people the things I tell people, that all of these are white wines. All of these wines from Long Island, which are excellent wines. I've had 3 of the 5, but they're all white because Long Island has really perfected making white wine, which is easier to do. And they've perfected something else that really is very good, and you can save a lot of money with it. If you like a rosé, which is the best rosé is made in the Provence area of France, which is way down on the Mediterranean. Think about this. And the best rosé in the United States, I believe, is made in the Hamptons on the Atlantic Ocean.
interesting.
There's a reason for that. Someday when we have a wine,
Do we have some climate?
What?
The
yeah,
climate
no, it has to
seems-
do with the salt air and the whole.
Yeah, because it does seem like they would have a little bit different fruit
Yes.
growing.
And what happens if
capabilities.
you do a rosé in the wrong places? It's kind of bitter, and a rosé has to be a teeny bit bitter, so it isn't like fruit juice,
Yeah,
but it has to be a little sweeter.
and you need that temperature change.
You need
as
both.
well.
You need a delicate balance between sweet and a little bitter and well.
Yeah, I mean,
So the other thing is the other thing is the president is saying that he's going to put giant tariffs on European cars if they keep tariffing our cars. Now this is really outrageous, and I watched it in Italy a little bit that I could, but in France it's the same thing. You don't see any American cars there.
bingo. What is that?
Why do we have all their cars and they don't have any of our
Right.
cars?
Yeah, they tout theirs as high end. All these high end and luxury European models.
We buy their cars like equal to buying our cars, if not more, and they never buy our cars.
That's
And
what I
they
hear.
put massive tariffs on our cars.
How many Fords and GMs do you see on the road in Europe?
I don't know, and until we do, we should put like 500% tariffs on their car. Let's do better than Trump. Let's put a 500% tariff on on a Mercedes. See how many people buy Mercedes. Musk will have to buy all the Mercedes.
What do Europeans think of? I mean, I thought we were known as the car capital of the world, the creator of at least the mass production of
we're
it.
an insecure group of people. We've often thought that anything European is better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The only people who knew that anything European wasn't better were our founding fathers. They knew that everything European was for
And
shit.
anyone who's had to fix one of those,
All of a sudden,
anyone
you're
who's
right.
had to fix one of those fancy ones. I have a Range Rover, and man, you got to pull that thing apart just to fix one little fan.
It cost you more money, right?
Oh, it costs significantly more money, and you have to import all the different things.
That's why we had. Look at the two revolutions: the American Revolution and the French Revolution. Our revolution over great republic forever and ever. The French Revolution went on for like years. One revolution after the Napoleon came back in the middle of the century, his son. They couldn't figure out if they wanted a king or a democracy. And now they're probably one of the silliest and most useless countries in the world. Nice people.
No, wait, in France?
No, not really, right?
Yeah, I was like, wait, hold on, check that.
You know, John Kerry once said, and it was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, and it's one of the reasons why Democrats are such disasters. John Kerry said during a debate with George Bush that if we were attacked, the first thing he would do is get his advisors together, and the next thing he would do is talk to our European allies. Why would you want to talk to our European allies? They don't know shit. They don't fight wars. I mean, why would you talk to these pathetic pacifists? I'm under attack. I want to talk to tough guys. I don't want to talk to a country that, surrenders before the war starts. Or when they send you troops in NATO, they don't fight.
Right.
So let's see if they go with cars too. Now, here's something that's really, really troubling me. And we talked a little earlier before, and we're going to have him on Monday, our friend Joe Pagliarulo. You all know Joe. I mean, Joe's been a radio host, and he's been on television a bit. And he's really one of the best in the country, one of the most knowledgeable, conservative, yes, but, conservative, but very, very broad-minded and very, very terrific. So he's been swatted.
Right.
Now, I didn't know about this until you brought it to me 2 days ago, and we called Joe to make sure he was okay.
Last night.
And then I went on his show earlier tonight, and we're going to put him on my show tomorrow. But this has happened when we talked to him originally, it had happened 9 times already.
Right.
To conservative voices. And there are people who are investigating the Musk situation. I don't know if people know what's happening to Musk, but they're smashing up his car places. So, this is like mafia thugs.
Right.
And the investigation, which got to Musk, found that the money's coming from Act Blue.
Yep.
And who funds that Act Blue? George Soros.
Right.
And some of these groups don't have money other than from George Soros.
Yep.
Like Act Blue gets Democrat money. But some of these organizations that have been alleged to be involved with the Musk attacks are Troublemakers, Disruption Project, nice names, right?
Right.
Rise and Resist, Invisible Project, and Democratic Socialists of America. Now, these people don't do political things, they do violence. These are also a lot of the groups that were behind the 2020 riots. That had nothing to do with free speech. It had to do with burning down buildings and killing cops. Or the 2024 university riots, where every one of them ended with a burning, or a disruption of a classroom, or destruction of college property. And now it is alleged that they're supplying the thugs that are smashing up the Teslas and the. We have some pictures of that I see a Tesla here that's all smashed in. They've smashed up showrooms. there's a theory, let's call it that, not proven yet, that there's a connection between that and this swatting thing. Well, what is swatting? Swatting, here's what they did to PAGs, and this is typical. They call up on a what do you call the phone? A VoIP.
Yes.
A VoIP phone. You can't trace. Well, they think you can't trace. And they'll call into it. They called into the police station. Pags lives in Houston. So they call into the police station, and he lives in a suburb of Houston. So they call into the suburban police station, and they say there's a shooting going on right now in progress. They may even make a little noise, boop, boop. And you better get there quickly. There's a guy inside the house that's killing the people inside the house. You better watch out. He's armed and dangerous. And the cops rush there. So Joe is doing a show, and the cops rush there. And luckily, because he's known, the sheriff called him to ask him, trying to just see if he can get him. And he got the sheriff, and the sheriff said, and he says, nothing going on here. And he worked it out so that the cops were told before he came out that this was a phony. Because he said, if it all happened really quick and he ran out to see what was going on, they could have shot and killed him, which we think is part of the plan. So now you get rid of Pags, the conservative commentator of some note, and you jam up a cop. Fits right into the Soros playbook, right? He's got, 2020 was all about jamming up cops. He's the biggest funder of Black Lives Matter, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, destroy the cops. And he's done everything he can to torture me and others. And as I said to Joe, they very, very, very well may want to kill them. These people are completely out of their minds. And even if they didn't kill him, I don't think I think they're sophisticated enough that they know if they go after the Joe Pagliarulos or the Steve Bannons or me, or they're not going to shut us up. We're probably going to talk more, but they're really trying to shut other people up who maybe aren't as confident or haven't gone as far yet or whatever. And it works. Believe me, it works. I can't tell you the people in the last 4 or 5 years I've been with who are frightened out of their minds. Guys who had to get out of cases, afraid their family would be killed, not being able to get representation for the president and former president of the United States, for me, for my colleagues. It even gets down to the people who are like minor co-defendants in the case. We had one that had to stay in jail for 3 nights because he couldn't get a lawyer. I had 3 lawyers of great prominence in Washington, D.C., say they wouldn't represent me in the Washington, D.C. case because they couldn't stand being in front of Beryl Howell. They said, we'll volunteer for one of your other cases. Swear to God. Actually, there's a witness to that conversation. This is what the president was talking about today at the Justice Department. And I know because he's talking about himself, or he's talking about me, or he's talking about Bannon, or Steve Navarro, or earlier on Papadopoulos. And it sounds somewhat self-serving, but I remember at the very beginning when they first went after him, this is before they went after me and a lot of other people, he said, they're really coming after you. And that's turned out to be true. They're coming after you. That's exactly what Garfunkel was doing, the Attorney General. Going after people who have conservative views, going after people who are anti-abortion, going after people who like Latin Mass. And it's done to intimidate. They may not stop the target, but they'll stop a lot of other people. Well, now we have an FBI director, Cash Patel, will make this a national priority. And I'm going to tell you something. If they want to catch you, they can catch you. These phones are not what you think. Let's see. So we have anything on this? Do we have a cash's statement or
we have
PAG statement? Yeah, let's put PAGs on.
Play a minute.
Or should we take a break first?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a short break because we got to sell some stuff so we can, pay the bills. And we'll be right back.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Well, we're back with you, and I don't know if I told you. I remember on the other show I did. Yeah, I think you know and can recognize those of you who have been watching America's Mayor Live from the beginning, which now, what, is 3 years? Three years?
In our third year.
But that's our balcony back there. You know, that's the view that we get from our studio here, my apartment. And you're looking at to one side. I want to be careful here because the camera may follow my hand. But if you look to that side right there, okay? That side, that's where the sun goes down. That's the west, because this is northwest. Now, if you look to that side, that's north, straight north, and it's a little further over, and that's where Mar-a-Lago is, and the water, the Atlantic Ocean. So we're between the Intercoastal and the Atlantic Ocean. Trump is on both the Intercoastal and the Atlantic Ocean. So the Tesla cars, we have some pictures of what that looks like, what they've done to the Tesla cars. I mean, I know that people just won't feel sorry for Elon because he's so rich, but this isn't right.
You're right.
I don't care if you're rich or you're not rich. Nobody should be bashing up your property.
And it's obviously impacting Tesla drivers, right?
Yeah, it's being done. It's being done. Again, they're not going to, I really doubt they're going to intimidate Elon Musk. And not because he has money. He's a tough guy. You can see he's a tough guy. but they're intimidating other people. I mean, look at that. I mean, now there. I don't know how many people it affects, but then you have people that say, "Well, I want to volunteer to help the administration cut costs. I want to volunteer to help the administration do that." And you say to yourself, "Well, maybe I don't want that. I'm not Elon Musk, and I can't go through that." And well, these people should be caught, and I think. I think they're going to find out that if the resources of the FBI are turned on them like they were turned on us, with a guy as proficient as and as dedicated and honest as Kash Patel, this may have been a very big mistake. I hope it is, and I hope they all get caught, and I hope they all go to jail for the rest of their lives. And maybe it'll stop then, and you'll be allowed to say that you like tariffs or you don't like tariffs, and you don't get your car burned, or you're allowed to say that there's waste in government. And here, I mean, you really believe that Musk is long before Elon Musk, you knew there was waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, and it was on a massive scale. Like he's really pointing out things you didn't know. What he's doing is he's putting substance to it. He hasn't found a single thing I'm surprised about. Now, I was surprised about the lawfare and how the Democrats completely distorted our system of justice. Never thought anybody could do that. I didn't think a president could prosecute a prior president like they do in the banana republics. I really didn't. I didn't think they could do to me what they did, or my friends. I did after a while, but it took me a while. Everything he has found, I have found to be something I knew, and it's a lot worse. And maybe it's because I knew that aspect of government from investigating it, and it's one of the reasons I stopped being a Democrat way back, seeing how phony the Great Society was, and it really was an attempt to keep people in bondage as opposed to help them. And all these programs are ridiculously corrupt. When people would say waste, fraud, and abuse, there's a little bit of waste, and there's a little bit of abuse, and it's mostly all fraud. And that includes the dealings with Ukraine too. Now it's outrageous. It's outrageous as to the restrictions that they're putting on Trump, Musk, these judges who are saying that the president can't fire people. Well, if the president can, who can? What it really has led to is a real movement now to do away with civil service. Now, I'll tell you who wanted to do away with civil service: Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan felt that it was ridiculous that government employees couldn't be fired. Now, look, it all started because the feeling was that to the victor goes the spoils had led to a lot of corruption and a lot of it was particularly within the Democrat Party. Remember, victor goes the spoils is a Democratic theory from Andrew Jackson, who was the first real Democrat. And it pervaded the crooked Democrat Party of Boss Tweed, for whom my city has a building named. Yeah, they took down the Jefferson statue and they kept up the statue of the biggest crook in municipal politics, which, is appropriate for New York since they wouldn't support Abraham Lincoln in an election, but they'd support Boss Tweed. But the idea was that civil service would protect against political hirings and firings, and that things would be nice and hunky-dory and there'd be no corruption. And there has been continuous corruption in the major old cities of New York since way before civil service, and civil service has just made it more corrupt. New York City has any number of perverts who abuse children on the payroll for 4 or 5 years because the Communist Teachers Union has set up rules over and above civil service. You put the civil service rules together with the union rules, it takes 5 years to get rid of a perverted, a child abusing teacher. And Mr. Prosecutor here solved it when he was mayor by going to my friends, the DAs, and getting him prosecuted. So I'd get him prosecuted and sent to jail long before I could get him out and off the city payroll. And I was sending checks to Sing Sing, to the perverted teachers. They're not all perverted, but they're not all not. It's not, and it's not just a few bad apples. You got to go take a look how big the rubber room is. So starting in about 1996, with the very, really excellent, one of the last excellent Democrat governors, George Zell, he decided that in a Democrat state, and we know that Georgia is one of the most corrupt, not Georgia, well, maybe, that's a maybe, that's a question mark. Here's not a question mark. Atlanta is one of the most corrupt cities in America. Is New York more corrupt? Maybe. Chicago? Maybe. Philadelphia? Maybe. Be a good contest. Ukraine? For sure. George Zell had come to the conclusion, Zell Miller had come to the conclusion that civil service had, as anything that there too long, had become corrupted, and it really was just a cover for bad workers, that you couldn't hold anybody accountable because of civil service. And it's really true. As I told you, any number of times, I used to sit with the communist Randy Weingarten. She was head of the union in New York before she became the national head. But anyone that's dedicated to communist as her would move far within the teachers union. So I used to say to her, I don't understand it, Randy. I want to give teachers raises. And I have the money now that I've straightened the city out and cut out a lot of the spending that your political party encourages so that you can take bribes. But I want to do it this way. And why would you oppose this? You represent teachers. I want to give a lot of money, like the biggest raises they ever saw, to really good teachers, like super teachers. And then I want to give a good raise to good teachers. And then I want to give an average raise to average teachers. And then there may be a category of teachers I don't want to give a raise to, but we haven't given up on. And there's a category of teachers I want to get rid of. Oh, we can't allow that. And well, are you telling me that all teachers are the same? I mean, I know you're not saying that. It's impossible. We got 100,000 of them. How could they be all the same? She said, oh, I'm not saying that. But they all have to be protected. I said, including the perverts that I have in the rubber room, the ones who take kids in the bathroom and rape them. I mean, you won't let me fire them? I got to pay them? She said, yeah, but what you're doing is outrageous. I said, well, what am I doing? You're getting them prosecuted before the school system gets to deal with them. I said, well, first of all, the school system shouldn't get in the way of the criminal justice system. Screw you. And second, the criminal justice system, which in New York City is pretty slow, works a lot faster than your system. So after all these battles, and she used to tell me, you can't measure a good teacher and a bad teacher. I said, well, why don't we try? You can measure everything. Measurements of performance are always inexact. And the art of great management, which I've written about, right? The art of great management is constantly making those measures better and better and better and better with trial and error. So let's start and see what we can do. Gee, a batting average really doesn't tell you necessarily who the best ball player is, but it's pretty good. It's better than no batting average. It's better than, the principal likes this teacher, but doesn't like that teacher, and we'll promote that one, or the principal is sleeping with this teacher, but not that one. Gee, that kind of happens, right? Well, they fought it like crazy. Now, here's end result. The school systems controlled by the teachers' unions are not school systems. They have nothing to do with the education of children. Zero. It's irrelevant. The kids can pass, the kids can fail. The kids can show up, or like in New York, 30% don't have to show up. It's all about a job protection system for a bunch of what turns out to be lazy bums. And yeah, there are good teachers. But if you last in that system for too long, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's something wrong with you. It's a tragedy to say that. But when you consider that in New York, now, currently, right now, 1/3 of the city budget, which is the largest city budget in the country and larger than most state budgets, including, I think, larger than the budget of Florida that has 10 million more people. 1/3 of the budget is for schools. When I was mayor, it was more like 20%, and the students were doing way better. We were in the top 10 in everything. We're now in the bottom 20 in everything, and we spend 2.5 times more per student. We have lost, over the course of the last 3 years, almost 100,000 students, and they want more money to take care of and not educate less students. But that's not the case because it has nothing to do with accountability. It has to do with getting as many teachers to become bureaucrats and get them out of the classroom so they don't have to work even 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day with 8 months of 8 months on the job and 4 months of vacation, to becoming bureaucrats, which is safer, nicer, and easier. You don't have to show up for work. So the balance is that considerably less than half the money in that per student thing goes to the students. It goes to the bureaucrats who evaluate the bureaucrats, who evaluate the bureaucrats, who evaluate all the bureaucrats, and then report to the bureaucrat who reports to the chief bureaucrat. And then you get the Department of Education after that. It's a con. It's a just straight out big city con. And then it is a well-devised, you can go read the books about it, Marxist infiltration of our system in order to brainwash our kids to be Marxists. Judging by the protests we see lately, they've done a damn good job. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're gonna want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
She announced.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Well, we were just talking here about getting serious. The Trump administration has now made a series of demands on Colombia if they want their $400 million back. It's being taken away. And they're going to have to ban masks at demonstrations. That's one of the many things they have to do, and they have to come up with an articulable program of what they're going to do about anti-Semitism. Probably get rid of most of their professors who are anti-Semitic, Jew haters. Ted and I, for the benefit of whatever committee that Trump has, will have to submit our report of last year when we went on our very, very scientific peer-reviewed study of which university hates Jews more, Harvard or Columbia. And Ted, what was our result? This was a very, very detailed study. We asked for no money, but we expended an enormous amount of money on this.
I mean, I think we came up with Harvard at first, but Columbia, looking back at it now.
No. We picked Columbia.
Yeah.
Because we were there.
We went to Harvard and then we
went
came
to Harvard and we saw some strange
weird
they
science
had a couple of
groups,
signs of they
Marxist,
like Jew-hating
communist meetings.
they're gonna have a actual communist there to tell people to hate Jews.
Yeah.
And but they didn't seem as invested in it.
Yeah.
When we were at Columbia.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
We were getting into it. We have a bunch of videos from that time.
Yeah, you
I
got
got to
videos
pull
from it?
those up. You were going at it with them too.
Going out with the cops.
Yeah.
What the
They rolled down the window. Yeah.
people for? They're on the other side. They hate you. They want to get you in
We
trouble.
must have those videos. Yeah.
And they tried to stop us from interviewing them.
Right.
Like, come on.
Right.
Well, it looks like Larry Ellison might want to buy TikTok, which is okay, but there was a little something in the article that got me very nervous, Ted.
Okay.
It says in the article, led by CEO Shu Chu, ByteDance as CEO, reportedly wants to maintain a stake in TikTok's operation after a deal. But that first of all,
Can you screen record
that's very dangerous because if he has a stake, he's going to control it. And second, it's against the law passed by Congress and the decision made by the courts. So Larry's a smart guy. The only way this works, to make this into a win-win,
Right.
the Chinese have to be out. And I'm going to say Chinese Communist Party, because any corporation of this size, like ByteDance, is a Chinese communist operation.
Right.
To the point where they have to report and give to the government all the information they obtain, or it's available to them. The agents, the Communist Party agents are right there in the company, just like the military was at the Wuhan laboratory. Wuhan laboratory was run by the Chinese Communist military.
Right.
That was known by Fauci from the beginning, but of course he was a Chinese communist. There are statements that he made that absolutely prove that he was a Chinese communist. So I don't know why the president this is one I'm nervous about. I don't want to see anything suggesting that China wants to have a role in it, but I'm not worried about it because the court and the law already says they can't. So if you want an American to take over, all those damn communists have to be kicked out. And that's anybody connected to China. Sorry. Among the other things that have been revealed by the Musk organization, which apparently the left wing is trying to kill, literally and figuratively, with all the attacks on the cars and violent attacks, and looks like money from the Soros groups being put into illegal activity against Musk. Don't know why that isn't investigated, and maybe it is as a RICO case. I mean, could be. I can't say what the evidence is going to turn out, but Musk could make a pretty good, boss of a RICO enterprise, if given all the biggest fundraiser for Black Lives Matter, biggest funder of Antifa, which basically is responsible for the J6 phony con job, and now funded the protests in 20 where nobody went to jail, put the DAs in so that it would happen in cities in which Soros owned the DA. We're starting to come up with a pretty good case here. Now we have, this is just $7.2 million among friends. You all know what CARE is, right? For 25 years or 20 years, I've known that CARE is a Muslim terrorist organization going back to 9/11. They celebrated 9/11, but they're very politically powerful. A lot of Democrats take money from them and keep telling us that we're very prejudiced for saying that CARE is very prejudiced. Well, there appears to be $7.2 million missing. Now, they don't bother to say where this money came from, but I'm sure it came from the well, it certainly came from the Biden administration because it was in 2022. So this money was intended to the only CARE organization that actually has been approved as a 501c corporation. But somehow it ended up in the hands of another different CARE organization that is specifically not approved. And the end result of that is we can't find out how the $7.2 million was spent, which came right from the federal government. And the suspicion is it went to Hamas. And they're going after Musk, huh? Thank God. Thank God. There's a trial in Brooklyn that you should pay attention to because it proves what I've been telling you for a long time. Iran has lots of people here trying to kill us. Two of them are on trial right now in Brooklyn for trying to kill Khalid Medvedev. That's it, Khalid Medvedev, who is a writer who was enormously critical and had to leave Iran of the misogynistic, which is maybe the best thing you can say about the Iranian regime that has killed more of its own people, but the Chinese communists. Has killed probably more Americans directly than the Chinese communists, unless you consider COVID and fentanyl, and is right now really the cause of the inability to have peace in the Middle East. Well, the hitman was, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. The hitman is Khalid Medvedev. And not only is he the hitman, but he's the man who cooperated after he got caught. And he revealed two of his associates, Rafat Amirov and Polad Omarov, all three Azerbaijanians who were enlisted by Iran to kill a woman who had become a very, very big opponent of the regime. And the reality is that case is on trial right now. And he was explaining how he was trying to get into her life and that he was planning to kill her when he got caught. He got caught with a AK-47 in his car and plans to assassinate Ahmadinejad. And Ahmadinejad was the woman that he was trying to kill, Mashish Ahmadinejad. And that was in 2022. And it was here in America. Recently, a very famous American conservative said that the Iranians don't come here to kill us. And that's therefore they're not as, we really don't need to be at war with Iran. We don't really have to be as concerned about the nuclear weapons as we do people who have come here to kill us. Well, the Nazis really never came here to kill us. They just tried. And the Japanese and the Italians during the Second World War didn't come here to kill us. And they sure killed a lot of us, though. But Iran has actually come here to kill us. I don't know if they've succeeded. They attempted to kill an ambassador in Washington. They have attempted several times to kill the man we have on the show. We'll have him on again next week. And he can tell you that they attempted to kill him. Now, they did attempt to kill me twice, but it was in Europe, and it was in Europe both times. But here's a proven attempt to kill us. It's time to, I'm getting very impatient. It's time to take them out, to take out their nuclear capacity. They're a little too close for comfort. I really think so. This whole Khalil, this Mahmoud Khalil situation has become insane with all the riots in his favor. Yesterday, what do we count? About 4 of them in different parts of New York?
Yeah,
They're like moving. Now, they don't get great numbers,
at least.
but they get great enthusiasm.
Right.
And he is, if he isn't a aider and abetter of Hamas and the other terrorist groups, he pretends to be.
Right.
And he doesn't belong in this country. He has no right to be here.
Right.
He's not a citizen. If you're not a citizen, you don't have a right to be here. It's a privilege you are granted. And you have to, I believe you should earn it.
Right. Of course.
Used to be that way. When all these phonies on immigration talk about how wonderful immigration has been for the United States and how we've grown with immigration, a bit better, there's a presumption there. The presumption is that the people that come here are strong, moral, hardworking people. Not a bunch of bums who don't want to work, or a bunch of terrorists who want to overthrow us, or a bunch of people who immediately succumb to the Marxist hate American group. That will destroy America. Immigration doesn't necessarily have to be, it isn't as if immigration is morally one thing or another.
Right.
Just because somebody's an immigrant doesn't make them good or bad. What makes them good is if you check them out and you find out they're good, which is what we did with immigrants until the Democrat Party got infiltrated by communism and wants to use it to destroy our country.
Right.
So none of the people that came in under Biden got any form of intense vetting. That's a joke. Some of them got no vetting at all, probably at least half. And the ones who did get vetting, for example, from China, 4 questions. That didn't happen with your grandparents, great-grandparents. They came to Ellis Island. God, if they had the sniffles, they were put in the hospital. They were vetted. Probably some mistakes made, but at least a lot of not mistakes.
Right.
Highly motivated, strong people. And people who knew why they were coming to America. Now, and if they said the wrong things, we didn't let them in.
Right. Right.
So Khalil, I do not see how this left-wing judge with a wife who's also left-wing, I do not see how he has any right to stop us from throwing this bastard out. He's not, nobody elected the judge to be in charge of immigration. The Constitution gives him no role in immigration. He has a very, very limited role. And the presumption is all in favor of the executive. The executive branch runs immigration. Congress can pass laws about it, but Congress can't run it. And the judiciary can't run it at all unless the president is violating those laws or violating the Constitution. And the presumptions have to all be given to the president. So you tell me how the president is making the wrong decision about a guy that's led, 20 protests. It's resulted in massive destruction of property. It's interrupted people's education. It's burned buildings. He is supporting maybe the group that has carried out the most brutal, barbarian, animalistic attack in the last 10 years, Hamas, a group that wants to destroy and eliminate our ally, Israel, and would like then to come and destroy us. Now, you tell me how the president acted improperly in throwing that guy out. because that's what you have to find. You have to find the president acted irrationally. It would be irrational if he didn't throw him out. And the judge should learn his role as a judge, because the judge is breaking the law. And he knows he is, because he went to the same Marxist universities that these bums come from. And I don't know, he's a smart man, but he sure as hell doesn't seem to understand the constitutional government that was given us by people far wiser than him. Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to have a surprise guest when we come back. And we're also going to find out why the hell is Snow White, a movie that Disney spent $300 million on, being premiered among only 100 people in a remote village in Spain. Must be something wrong with it. How can you screw up Snow White? Well, it's being done by Disney. Disney hasn't had a hit in years. The last time they did Peter Pan turned into being a super woman who was beating the living crap out of all the men. This is going to be very similar. Snow White's going to be like, and don't you see the whole thing here? The whole thing here is this sort of creates sort of brainwashed atmosphere. Oh, it's not so bad if men compete in women's sports because the women can kick the shit out of them. Yeah, right. Like the girl is paralyzed. Disney is disgusting. It should go away. And I don't even think the mouse shows up anymore. Poor guy's embarrassed. I mean, Minnie, they'd have to, if the mouse showed up, Minnie would have to kick him all over the, right? Minnie'd have to beat the crap out of him. I mean, this is a perfect example. Disney is a perfect example. Not just when we say woke, it's too mild a word. It's a perfect example of the tremendous inroads that Marxism and communism have made into destroying the culture of the United States. And Snow White is just one more example, which we're going to point out to you when we come back. And then the equally important problem of how they've so horribly infiltrated our schools. We will be back very shortly.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory, or not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're gonna want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome, Allison. Thank you for being back. Now, Allison, you remember Allison has been on a number of times, but she was on in California for us too.
Yes.
When the burning was going on.
Burn, baby, burn.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, they
Where are
finally
we now?
they finally put out the fire, and then we've had some winter rain, so it helped. But there's about 60 square miles of burnt land in the middle of one of the largest cities in the world. It's crazy.
I saw something and I didn't take it out for the show, but I should mention it. There was some kind of poll done that some substantial number of people don't want to go back. And they're thinking of living somewhere else now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem? A lot of people just won't go back to Los Angeles. They're afraid it'll happen again, or
There has to be huge governance change, starting with probably the mayor, if not higher level people in the state.
right.
It just shows how incompetent people are. They were just checked out. We don't know how they got into these positions and the policies. They were doing DEI workshops as opposed to firefighting workshops.
Yeah, it's amazing because I remember there was some transgender chief in the fire department who said that well, of course, if you were in a fire, you would be very concerned to have someone that looks like you come and save you. And I said to myself, I mean, I ran the largest fire department in the country, right? I was the commander in chief. And I've been at a lot of fires, including the biggest one of the biggest in the history of the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember anybody that really cared about who came and saved them, other than it was a big, strong person and brave one.
I totally agree. When you have a fire, there's a big fire, probably we have to get back to basics. The number one rule is to save people. Of course, like this whole touchy-feely, I want the firefighter, I want the police to look like me so I feel comfortable and trust them. The thing is that you're going to die or you're not going to die. You need someone to help you get out of the building.
The most
right?
capable, competent person. He can look like me, not look like me. He could even hate me as long as he saves me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, what are you doing back there?
Fixing the shot for Allison.
You got a big boxing glove back there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'm not going to box with her. She's a girl.
She's
What? I'm a woman. Now, I got to tell you, though, when we have Kara on, I wouldn't box with her because she'd knock me out. Kara, who is our White House correspondent,
mm-hmm.
is a lovely female, but she was a boxing champ.
Really? Amazing.
Yeah. I wish you were in the Biden White House because she would have kicked them around really good.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to look at our the thing the New York Post does every weekend, and this was the best one. Spot the difference. So this is Chuck Schumer in 2010. About a third of all the spending that's done in Medicare, Medicaid doesn't go to good health care. It goes to other things. That's 2010, right? Now, today, Tuesday, the richest man on earth repeated again a bevy of lies that entitlement programs are riddled with fraud and abuse. What a liar. What a liar. Chuck E. Cheese.
So,
So let's talk about, we'll talk about Snow White later. So they do, I mean, that Disney is putting out a new Snow White. That's not about Snow White. It's about some feminine hero who doesn't need men and kicks them all around. And then she herself has a whole history of all sorts of offensive statements, right?
right.
So they're trying to hide her. Rochelle Ziegler.
That's right.
So she lost her head when Trump got elected, right?
Right.
Do you have any little quotes from her?
Yeah, we're bringing one up right now.
So they're doing it. The reason I say they're doing an opening tonight, they're doing it in Segovia, Spain, with 100 people.
Where's that? Segovia, Spain. Is it?
Maybe it doesn't exist. This could be an AI opening.
It could be because I heard
You
all
don't know
the
about that.
I heard all the dwarves are AI. The
This-
seven.
This lady knows more about that stuff than anybody in the whole world.
I don't know about that, but I know a little bit about AI.
Right.
Well, here's a tweet. This is something. Rachel Ziegler is the name of the actress who plays Snow White, and so this is somebody. She's responding to another person where she says that this is in reference to President Trump. Recognize that the person in office right now is a white supremacist and racist, and supporting him makes you the same. So sit, and I cannot stress this enough, the hell down, racist. That's her responding to just somebody on social media, making it clear that she feels if you support, not only is Trump a racist, but if you support him, you too are a racist white supremacist, to be exact. And so Disney's realizing the problem they're having now is that first of all, this is a man who won the election in 2024, and so they're releasing this movie. There's a big backlash. They've actually pared down their movie premiere here in America.
How can you give Snow White less of a role in Snow White?
But there was a big
Is it called Snow White? I mean, if she's Snow White, doesn't she have to be white? I mean,
It's called Snow White.
but that's the point.
But here's the thing.
it's
what
like anything else. It's like a communist Snow White, where the words don't mean. It's like Orwell.
Right.
But wouldn't you be outraged if you were one of the little people who's being, their job is being taken away by AI for
But
this
what
situation?
do you call them? You're not allowed to call them
Little people is, I think, the appropriate term.
That's not nice, little people.
What happened to dwarfs?
Yeah, or dwarfs? Yeah. Oh goodness.
You actually all got it wrong.
Snow White and the Seven. What is it called? Snow White and the Seven. What?
You're actually-
Did they
Snow
nix that
White
from
and
the
the
title?
7 AIs.
You're
Yeah,
actually all
there we
wrong.
go.
You're all wrong. You're all using the wrong language.
Wasn't that the name, Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs?
Dwarfs, yeah.
So what do they call it now? Snow
Well,
White
now-
and the 7 Wokes?
You got to use it's what's called people first language. I worked for a short time for a corporation. We're gonna shall remain unnamed, and we had certain trainings, right?
Okay,
And
so
one
what
of
do
the
you
trainings
call? What do
told
you
us-
call? But what are they? What is the name of the movie? Just
Persons who are vertically challenged.
Snow White and the 7 vertically challenged.
You lead with
Persons?
people first, so you lead with persons
Okay,
because you want to make sure they know that they.
so
too
it's
are a
Snow
person.
White and the 7
persons who are vertically challenged.
and the 7 persons who are vertically challenged. Snow White and the 7 persons who are vertically challenged.
That's a mouthful right
That's the
there.
name of the movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be the PC way to
And
do it.
from what I can tell, Snow White's a brunette, but that's the least of the problems. See, it's a brunette.
Isn't Snow White's a brunette in the original though, right?
I thought you, but isn't
trying
she
to put a
Snow
video
White?
clip
Isn't
here.
she blonde if she's Snow White?
No, she's a brunette.
Okay, all right.
Which was weird for Disney at the time, actually.
Yeah, but we'll try to get this clip.
Who
Working
played-
on getting a clip up.
Who played Snow White in the original?
Who did
Jane Fonda?
that? So the original Snow White, of course, the original story of Snow White goes back much further. But the original movie, or what is considered the original movie, came out in the year 1937. And it was Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. It was a Walt Disney production. And Snow White,
It was a cartoon.
it was a cartoon. So
Yeah,
there was
nobody
no-
played it. I mean, somebody voiced it, but no.
Mhm.
Did they ever do a Snow White with human beings?
Snow
Disney?
White live action version.
I think they did with Kristen Stewart. Wasn't like Snow White or it's called The Huntsman. Remember that?
Oh yes, yeah, but that was sort of
Inspired
Yeah.
by.
it was sort of like a strange version of it, right?
Mhm.
In 2001, Snow White and the Huntsman. That's right. It was kind of a darker.
So who's the
darker
Huntsman?
version? Huntsman, John Huntsman.
No, but who's the huntsman? I mean, is somebody hunting Snow White?
Yes.
That was the prince,
Oh.
I believe.
No, the prince. Well, I bet they don't have a prince in this because they apparently it's very anti-male.
Kristen Stewart, you were right.
This is a very anti-male version.
Movie trivia.
Movie trivia.
Well, now we're going to ask you about your role as a parent and as a person who knows education from the grassroots level. We were just talking about the teachers union and how in New York the head of the schools, who is getting 1/3 of the entire budget of the city for the schools,
Mhm.
and the budget of the city is larger, I think, than the budget of the entire state of Florida. So the city of New
Wow.
York has 8 million people, and Florida has 22 million people.
Wow.
So that's she's getting a lot of money, but she needs more. And since money has gone up from something like $28 a student, or $22 a student, to $38 a student, New York has gone down in all the significant categories from about 8, 10 in the nation to 29, 30, 31. So it's like this: more money,
Mhm.
less students.
Worse performance. What does that tell you?
Performance going that way.
What does that tell you?
Right now, we have 800,000 less students than we used to have, and we spend 2.3 times more on those students in order for them to drop down about 30 positions.
Wow.
So tell me, at the grassroots level, what's it like? You're on the school board.
So I was the president of the Parent Teacher Teams Association at our in our town, Palo Alto, which is ground zero, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I don't know specifically what was going on with New York City versus Florida, but numbers don't lie, facts don't lie. When you're spending double the amount of money and your test scores plummet, then it's a red flag. There should be investigation. I mean, I can't say from like 10,000 feet away. Of course, you're you were a mayor of like one of the largest cities in the world. But what I saw, that there are a lot of, say, extracurricular activity that the school is asked to finance, to provide for. There are very loud parents, activist parents, especially in California. And I think that's probably
True
a
in New
good,
York,
and
too.
yeah, it's probably a good analogy to the the Dem parties
Right.
and why they went off the deep end. There are always these radical leftist activists, and you know what? They always show up to the meeting super late and they complain. Half the time, they don't even show up. And when they do show up, they complain the hardest. That was my personal experience on the school board.
Mhm.
And when they do complain, it's more performative. It's a theatrical performance, and they make, certain accusations. I'm not going to get into like the names and stuff.
Right.
But it was very,
Is it
very
all- is it
off-putting.
like a lot of it race-based?
Yes, but some of the parents who are complaining are not necessarily of the particular race that they're
So
complaining about.
white activists complaining about black discrimination against blacks.
I'm not going to say
Which,
specifically the case,
liberals.
because I am a parent in
Right.
a very large public schools, but there were parents of various different races, probably like we would consider them privileged races, that would be complaining on behalf of, say, Latinos and African Americans. And these parents, I've noticed, they didn't necessarily show up and they didn't read the meetings. I have everything on a Google Doc and I send it out. And then with Google Doc, you can see when people read it. Three months, 4 months later, they would complain and nitpick about certain little things to try to cancel just basic programs that we have for reading, writing, arithmetic, and also school outings.
You actually have arithmetic?
Yes,
Wow.
yes, we do.
Because in New York, they just give you like a calculator. They said, well, you don't have to know how to add and subtract.
Well, there's some
Just
new
use the calculator.
there's some new curriculum where it's based on the idea that math is racist. So there's certain professors coming out of Stanford University, and it's backed by the Gates Foundation, and they say that certain math curriculum are racist. So we try to move away from that,
Like-
but that
like-
is
like-
a big part of the school board
What
discussion.
level of education are we talking about where math is racist? Grammar school?
So the research where they talked about it, her name, the professor from Stanford is Joe Baylor. So you can look her up. She is I believe she is ethnically white,
Mhm.
and she's done the research to show that math is racist. And the Gates
She's
Foundation,
very creative.
well, I don't know what the basis of it is, but it has really affected public school curriculum,
Like,
especially in California, and I
trying to
think
get- I'm
New
trying-
York as well.
I'm trying to get at is it like 1 + 1 = 2, or is it calculus?
I'm not sure. I don't think math is racist. I think math is the great
No, no,
equalizer.
What is she claiming? Like, I know this shocked me, hit me about 3 years ago. I was told, because I was representing a girl who was discriminated against in school, that they don't know how to do long division anymore,
Hmm.
because you can do it on you don't have to do like, the nuns used to teach me 3 into 12. So we would do it that way, like this. So I showed that to a kid once, 3 into 12. He didn't know what I was doing. He thought I had like a Babe Ruth's number and Gil McDougall.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because it's hard to ask a question, Mayor, when like the answer doesn't really make sense. Perhaps like because I
Right.
studied engineering, science, and
Yeah.
math.
This is another one of those things where you wake up and you say, how do we ever get here?
It's like Pete Buttigieg. It's the same thing where he says bridges and roads are racist. And I just don't understand that. It's the same thing as saying math is racist, where math helped to elevate and change my life because I did really well in math. I got a scholarship to go to Stanford University. And from that, I was able to start a career in tech and advise and be an investor. So I do believe that math is a great way out. You can become
it
an
is.
engineer, you can become a trader, stocks. You have to be able to read spreadsheets
It's
as
a pretty
well
good
as graphs.
indication. A pretty good indication. You have a very disciplined, solid mind. You have the ability. Kamala Harris, when she would do the word salads, they would always think it was funny. It isn't funny. It's an inability to rationally think through a 4-part thing. She would
Critical
get it-
thinking
Yeah.
thinking skills are very important.
And I actually think it has to do with the synapses in the brain. I mean, they connect thoughts, right? And what happens to her is they break off,
Hmm.
and then she doesn't know where she is. You can see it happening. I'm sure she has a cognitive defect. It isn't when she starts that. How are you going to bring about peace in the Middle East? I come from a very middle class family.
I had a lawn growing up.
Yeah.
Well, how does this affect
And
the
I
price
was-
of
and my
tea
middle- and my
in the
middle-
Middle East? I don't
My
understand how all
middle-class
this.
family was very middle class,
Hmm.
and we tried very hard to be middle class. That's the inability of the brain to. Maybe it freezes or something. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. A lot of people say she drinks. I didn't think she drank. I think there was something wrong with her brain.
I don't know. I'm not a neurologist, but I wonder if sometimes she was just trained to be
Don't answer.
a politician, like the Willie
Yeah, but,
Brown
Willie Brown, I
style.
knew Willie really well.
He's
but
really good. He's
Willie's
actually
smart.
really good. He's
Willie-
very
Willie-
smart, but
Willie will just generally just bamboozle you. He'll just, he'll be like the phony used car salesman. But they actually put sentences together
Mhm.
and they talk around it. She doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. But that's off the topic. How do we fix our schools? I mean, it's going to take a long time. And the longer we take, the more generations we lose.
I think we have to get back to basics. I went to a big public school in Texas and it wasn't that hard. We actually had great teachers. I don't think they paid them a lot. I don't know why. I mean, it was Texas and many of the teachers were like very youthful, enthusiastic. They weren't in a union. They could be in a union. But the reason why is because they were the wives of these Air Force officers.
Yeah.
And so they were really smart and they got to travel around the world every like 3-4 years. And so they were new to my
And they
school.
had a lot of experience.
They had a lot of experience. They came from like Italy, Japan, Germany, and they came to Texas and they were really excited to learn about, Texas, Lone Star State, and all these kids. and we were taught like a very structured curriculum. I was an immigrant, so I learned how to read, I learned how to write. I took calculus in high school, algebra, geometry. It's very important to learn basic math. One of the things that math teaches you is how to think critically. Well, also literature as well, right? It's like multi-step function,
Yeah, there are
chemistry.
several ways to get there, all of which are now ignored.
Yes. And so when we start talking about, oh, schools are racist and math is racist and it's the institution is racist, police are racist, then people don't have faith in the institution anymore, but the actual act of teaching and learning. And I've been a science teacher at the elementary school. I actually taught computer science at my son's elementary school. And people were like, well, this is so hard to teach computer science to young kids. I developed a curriculum for first graders. But I was able to teach it because I broke it down into, 8 different steps. Like, how does a computer work, right?
Right.
And so
Would you teach me?
Yes, we're going to start right now. I'll blindfold you and put you through a maze. And so we learn about the left-hand rule, about how you get out of the maze. No, it's not because to learn how to program, you have to learn how to think like a computer. So a computer is blind, right? And so you have to tell it precise instructions on how to get to a maze.
Do you know about this, Stephen?
It's only vaguely, to be honest with you, but it does make a lot of sense, and it does
My left hand.
because they don't have senses like we do.
Mhm.
But it seems like it sometimes when you're talking to some of
Can
these
you insult
AIs,
the computer?
They don't have feelings for the most
Oh,
part.
but-
no.
but they're pretending enough that they do, because I'll sometimes, offend some of
I
these
offend
like
Alexa few-
ChatGPT.
sometimes.
And then sometimes it says, oh, and sometimes it's offended by me when I request something and it says, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this guy. Yeah. What are you doing? What do you need here?
Sure you want to do that?
It's like, I'm only here for, helpful purposes here.
I'm not going to ask what you ask it.
Hey, it's just politics,
Could we show a picture of Randy Weingarten ranting like a lunatic at a Democratic rally? This is the person who is the dictator of public school teachers. She's the party commissar who ruins the lives of probably more children in this country than any single human being. And I know that from personal experience because before she was the national head, she ruined education for the children in New York for many, many years. Shall we show her and show exactly her demeanor and exactly if you think this is the person who should have basic control over the education of most of the kids in America?
Housing, any of the things that are important every single day. We need to fight to get Kamala Harris and Tim Walz elected. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are we gonna walk? Are we gonna knock? Are we gonna get them elected?
Well, I think there might be a mural.
Notice how many words she has. I mean, she really is extremely articulate. I mean, it really was a beautiful, like poetic, yelling, screaming, just the same 3 words. She was almost near the limit of her vocabulary. And of course, it was unfortunate we couldn't see her. But this is.
Just take it. Don't take because they're just.
Oh, there she. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. There you go. That's who. There she is. She was a little younger there too.
That's new. That's the new one.
Yeah, but I mean, she's a true communist. The union was founded by communists, so don't get surprised and don't get angry at me. It was founded by communists. They attempted to take it away from them, and it didn't happen. And and whether you want to say they're communists or not, they're based on communist principles. Every teacher is treated the same. There you go, Randy. There you go. What a sensitive creature. So if the teacher takes a class that has gone through 3 years of not being able to read at age level, and has them all by the end of the year reading above age level, or a teacher takes a class that was doing really well and everybody fails, the teachers get the same raise if they get a raise. The teachers get the same benefits. The teachers are treated exactly the same. And if you make any distinction based upon performance, they'll sue you. Now, if you were a principal, even if you didn't have statistics, but I mean, you can tell if you're a good principal, who the good teachers are and who the bad teachers are. You're going to want to keep and promote the good ones, and the bad ones, you want to kind of get them out, send them to some other school. You try to do that, they'll sue the principal.
Well,
how do you run something? Managing is about picking the good and the bad and getting rid of the bad and putting in the good. And that's all. I mean, any kind of management of a corporation, a government, a school.
And you manage one of the largest cities in the world. And so the way you do that is you look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Facts don't lie.
Of them, their performance.
Well, the numbers don't lie, but now they're saying the numbers, the facts are racist. So we can't look at that. And so that's part of, I guess, the performance, the theater, the outrage. And so we need to peel all that back and go back to basics. And I am really happy to see what POTUS and the administration are doing. You know, the things that make sense, let's keep. The things that don't make sense, let's get rid of it. And what about the waste, fraud, and abuse? So much money. Like, where's all this money being spent? Like, you know, half of it, a third of it, whether it's like Medicare, Medicaid, education, you know, USAID. We don't even, you know, and even funding that war in Ukraine. Even Zelensky said half of it. I don't know where it went. How can you not know where like $100-200 billion went? It's not like, you know, a quarter that I lost in my couch.
How can you possibly even say that? Seriously. How can you, as the president of a country that's at war, that is depending on money from other countries, and therefore you have to be trustworthy, say, I don't know what happened to 100 billion?
If you were a CEO, if that was the vice mayor of New York City working under you, Mayor, what would you do?
I would walk him into if there was the old honest FBI or the present Cash Patel FBI. I personally take him in the FBI and say, if you don't have this guy indicted in a week, I'll do it myself. What are you, crazy? You don't know what happened to 100 million or $100 billion? I mean, first of all, you're fired. And there's a grand jury right there. And also I'd subpoena every goddamn thing he had. I mean, and I happen to know that Zelensky is sitting on incredible criminal information that he's hiding. He's got tape recordings between Biden and his president that would take them both down. Maybe 4 or 5 hours. I'll give you the dates. February 3rd, 2016, February 10th, 2016, February 18th, and February 20th. And the White House has concealed them, and President Trump should go get them and put them out. And the vice president was on the phone with Poroshenko, and they were discussing how they were going to get rid of the prosecutor so that they could fix the case for Joe's son and for Mykola Zlochevsky, who was worth about $30 billion, and he was paying the Bidens a $10 million bribe to do that. But he was also paying a bribe to the president of Ukraine, which is right in the file, and Zelensky is covering it up so he has something on him. So every time Zelensky would meet with Biden, he could easily say, hey, Joe, if you don't give me the 30 bill, I'll just put out the extra pictures that Giuliani doesn't have. Because I know, like he does, that your family is full of perverts.
Leverage.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
It's disgusting. And whenever I look at that little weasel, it turns my stomach. And you know why it turns my stomach? Because I love the Ukrainian people. And I say to myself, they're going nowhere. Had they won this war, they'd be under a crooked product of the worst, most criminal, organized crime oligarch in Ukraine, Kolomoisky, who was a premier money launderer. So even if they had won this war, which I guess it would have been a little better, the Ukrainian people would still be getting raped by the oligarchs. It used to be called very, without study, but just the second most corrupt country in the world, because they always wanted to say that Russia was more corrupt. I don't know if Russia is more corrupt. Russia's pretty damn corrupt too. I always found Ukraine more corrupt. Russia is a bigger country, and there are more places to hide in Russia. In other words, you can find honest areas. Ukraine is a much smaller country. And Poroshenko, the president before this guy, was notorious for going into he would go into every deal. So let's say you were doing a kickback for an arms contract. He had to get 10% of it. If he didn't, he'd do something to screw up the contract. It was described to me by two Ukrainians, one honest, pretty much, and the other one a crooked oligarch, that Poroshenko was like the guy in The Godfather who had to put his beak in every deal. And therefore he became very wealthy. So in the old days, the president would get paid off for the things that he did. Like he got paid off for letting Zlochevsky out and Hunter Biden. But he would get, if you were doing an illegal deal, you were paying off somebody in Ukraine to get a contract, he would have to get some of it. And if he found out about it, he'd prosecute you. So he was like ubiquitous. He was in every single deal. And that's why he was defeated 70-30. Everybody in Ukraine knew it. It wasn't like, I'm not telling you a big secret. I'm telling you something. If you were in a taxi cab in Ukraine, the taxi cab driver, if he lived there for the last 10 years, would tell you.
Yeah, it's like a tax, another set of tax. The president tax that goes straight into his coffers.
He expects it. And some of these people are patriots. They'll go out and fight for Ukraine. And if you give them $10 billion for the military, they think nothing of taking $5 billion for themselves, but they'll give $5 billion to the military.
Well, we expect that in banana republics, such as, even though you can't really grow bananas in Ukraine because it's too cold. So I'm just saying that metaphorically, but we don't really expect it in the US with our education system and Medicare, Medicaid. But then where's all this money, going?
The Ukraine, the people there are wonderful. They're really very well educated. They're religious. The people themselves are pretty damn honest. But of course, they've had no history of any form of rule of law or democracy. They've been controlled by Tsarist Russia and communist Russia.
So do they think that this is just like standard business as usual? This is how governments are ran? Is that why they take the kickbacks and the taxes?
Yeah. I would say that's right. Like in Mexico, corruption is just part of life. I mean, you don't pay a ticket, you pay off the cop.
What about some transparency? Do you think transparency would help?
100%. And if the EU and NATO would play their role instead of becoming a problem that almost got Ukraine destroyed. First thing, when the EU first started, they were actually valuable in that they required you to straighten out your corruption before they take you. So Italy had to get rid of the mafia in order to really be a full-fledged member of EU. And that's one of the things that created a lot of the trials I was involved in. They had to clean up their corruption. You couldn't be too corrupt to be in EU. You had to be a legitimate government. And if this were the old EU 30 years ago, they'd say to Ukraine, you're too damn corrupt to be in the EU.
Yeah. What happened to rules of conduct? I mean, is there a sergeant of arms in the EU?
It was a very good article written in Foreign Policy magazine by a middle of the road type saying, if they actually apply the EU rules, there'd be no way Ukraine could get in right now because they'd never straighten out their corruption.
Yeah, and we have like so much technology too. Publish some of these documents. Use AI to double check the numbers and where everything is going.
If you ever look at the file.
We have the technology. We have the IT. We have everything there. We just need it to be published. We need to shine a light on this matter and disinfect it. I mean, we can't just be giving 200 billion, 375 billion to a country. Yeah,
when money gets lost.
Yeah, without any transparency.
And the president says, I don't
I give $10 to my son for a week. And I ask him, like, what have you show me some of the receipts. Have you been doing your homework? Have you been mowing the lawn? You need, when I cook and you need to empty out the dishwasher.
Should have brought up Zelensky.
I think he might be too old to adopt, but although the internet memes show him as a baby, so maybe I can adopt
Some of those memes were hilarious with him being thrown out of the White House. And well, in any event, it's always a pleasure having Allison. Are you here? Are you ever thinking of moving from that communist place that you live to a free country like Florida?
the Socialist Republic of San
To
Francisco
the free state of Florida?
to the free state of
Under
Florida
Yeah.
under DeSantis.
Yeah, he's a good governor.
Very, very
Yeah,
good
yeah.
governor.
Get
Clean
over
up
the Trump. Get over the Trump thing. I mean, he's a governor now. He's a really good one. We're very fortunate to have him.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had Governor DeSantis just takes nothing away from him. Florida has been blessed by, out of the last 4 governors, 3 great governors. Jeb Bush, interrupted by the unbelievably corrupt Charlie Crist. Then Rick Scott,
Mm-hmm.
who was a fabulous governor.
Mm-hmm.
And DeSantis, who's just as fabulous, if not more. I mean, it's hard to tell which one is better, but it probably doesn't matter. They're all very, very good.
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. When I'm walking down West Palm, Palm Beach, Miami, it's clean, it's safe. Even 2:00 in the morning. I don't even know why I'm out at 2:00 in the morning, but I feel safe walking on the streets of Miami.
The real creation is to go over to West Palm, which when I first started coming here, which would be around 2000, a lot of West Palm was really very dangerous. And there is still some areas of West Palm that are dangerous. It still has a fair amount of crime, but it's cut in half or more.
It's really clean up. I think I was here 10 years ago, just driving through, and I've noticed how
West Palm is like
it's
a miracle.
really changed, changed.
There were buildings on the other side. If you look at where that's my view from there on the other side of those trees. One morning I got up and they were imploding a building over there because they couldn't sell it.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. And Trump had 2 buildings there he couldn't rent. He almost gave them up.
Mm-hmm.
Now the rents over there are in the millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't give them away. Well, it could be an interesting weekend. Ted, what's coming up this weekend?
Well, so Mayor, we'll be. I'm going to get the.
We're going to be in Naples.
We'll be in Naples. I'm going to bring up the.
Dr. Maria was in Naples, Italy, and I go to Naples, Florida. Does that seem fair?
We're going to stay on for a few minutes because I want to bring up the flyer. Maybe we can get a.
Are there people in Naples, Florida, that Neapolitan? Like my grandfather, I
believe so. And
my maternal grandfather.
You've spent more time, Mayor, in Naples, Florida. I don't know that I've even ever been.
Have you been? And you've never been to Naples, Italy?
Never been to Naples, Italy.
San Carlo Opera House.
We got to change that.
I saw Andrea Chenier there, and I was escorted by the police from Avellino. And you're going to say that's because you're the mayor.
Right.
I was 25 years old, 24 years old. I had just gotten out of law school. I was a law clerk to a federal judge, and I was lost trying to find my grandmother's home in Gesualdo in Avellino, which is in the mountains, about an hour from Naples.
Oh, cool.
And I looked at my watch, and I told the police, the Italian police, who were all fighting about how do you get to Gesualdo. And there's probably only 2 ways to get there, but they were having bitter fights over who would take me. And I was just an American, nobody special, just an American whose grandparent came from there. The minute I said that, I had half the police department of Avellino in front of me, all fighting over who was going to take me there. And then I said, I don't think I can make it because I have to go see Andrea Chenier at the San Carlo. And it's an hour. I'm never going to make it. They said, oh, no, don't worry. Do not worry. You come with us. So I got in my car. I had a police car in front of me, a police car in back of me. And they escorted me for 45 minutes right into downtown Naples.
Fabulous.
Honestly, nobody, just an American.
They saw your potential there.
No, they knew my grandparents. They love America. You cannot believe how much in Southern Italy they love Americans. And the Southern Italians are considerably less pretentious than the Northern Italians.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm allowed to say that because my father's family's from Northern Italy.
Mm-hmm.
They're from Florence.
Mm-hmm.
One is from Florence. The other's from Montecatini. And my mother and father, who never set their foot in Italy ever, couldn't speak Italian, were first generation, but born in America. They used to fight like crazy over which was better, Northern or Southern Italy.
Oh, so what's better, northern or southern Italian food? What's your favorite? I'm dying to hear.
Oh, food, Southern Italian. They're also much nicer people.
And the food, so you like the food in the South
The
better?
Northern Italians are the the Michelangelos,
The Milanese,
Da Vinci,
more refined, the
Vincis,
artists,
the Da Vinci's,
the craftsmen.
the great fashion houses. The pen,
Mhm.
Italy probably makes probably the
Ferragamo.
second best pen maker in the world.
What about those
Northern Italy has always
cars?
been more
What about those cars too?
Yeah. Northern Italy has always been much more productive than Southern Italy, but also has a much snootier attitude.
Hmm.
They think they're more important.
Do the South really know how to enjoy life and food?
Oh yeah, much better. I'm sure there's many fewer psychiatrists in the South and many more psychiatrists in the North, and I like being a little of both. But when I came back, my mother and father made me tell them which I like better. And when I told my mother and father that I like Southern Italy better, my father didn't talk to me for a month.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
But what's your favorite Southern Italian food and what's your favorite Northern Italian food? Same?
Yeah, like lasagna,
Lasagna.
all the basic, yeah. And Northern Italian cooking is very, very good. Like risotto is Northern Italian.
Oh,
Like
really?
risotto, yeah.
Okay.
And Northern Italian cooking, depending on how far north you go,
Mm-hmm.
it could almost be French cooking
Mm-hmm.
on the border with France.
Yeah, France and Switzerland. I've been there.
You go over to Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
About 20% of Switzerland is Italian, the population.
I have noticed that.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
the
a lot of
Dolomites,
Italians live on the other side,
the Alps.
here and here. That cooking is, I mean, all the cooking in Italian is Italy. And when I quickly said it, Southern Italian, it really depends. It used to be when Italians first came here that all the cooking was Southern because all the immigrants were Southern.
Mm-hmm.
And then Northern Italy started sending a lot of people here. So about 30 years ago, Northern Italian restaurants became very, very, like you would say, Northern Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And the cooking really, it's different, but it's not that different.
Mm-hmm.
It starts to get different when you get above Milan, because now you're starting to get French and German and Swiss influence.
I don't like the German food. I'm sorry to say, no offense to any of your German viewers, but I love the Italian.
Give her the exit card, please. One card, exit card for her. I mean, I'm the new prime minister. Chancellor. I'm a chancellor. Ha! That little weasel's a chancellor over in Germany who doesn't like Trump.
Well, if anyone wants,
He's gonna build his own army in Germany, except he doesn't want to pay for it.
any last minute, they are sold out, but we're gonna go ahead and throw this up there. I had asked, and they said it'd be fine if we sold a couple extra here.
What
So,
am I doing there? Am I reading my book?
Yep, we're gonna do a live. No,
It can be a reading of my book.
a live reading of the book. No live reading.
How about
but
a
the
live
crowd
dramatic
will be there,
reading?
the mayor will be there.
Maybe a dramatic
Tiny
reading of it.
book.
I play all the parts. You know how they do that one-man show on Broadway? I always think those actors are the best actors in the world. They are the best. I saw Chaz Palminteri's one-man show about 4 months ago.
Ooh.
So it's not
Unbelievable
too
how you
late.
do a one-man show. But I could play Joe. I could play Hunter. I could play Zlochevsky. I could play the crook who bribed them. I mean, I could play a lot of them. I don't know about what I do about the women, though. How do I play the first stepmother?
So we have quite the drive to make, Mayor. So
You
maybe
will
we'll-
not be allowed to have Navy Biden here for Christmas. Sorry. We're not going to take a risk politically and acknowledge your granddaughter, Joe. Okay, we'll acknowledge her, but you can't meet her. And he never did. Never met his granddaughter. What a rat fink, huh?
Terrible. Awful. Well, on that terrible.
But I could tell you a lot of stories. I tell you a lot of stories from that book if you want. And we tell dramatic readings of.
Oh, God.
How about
Hunter's laptop.
how about we concentrate on how corrupt the Ukrainians were, and how much they interfered in our election in 2016 to elect Hillary.
Right.
Like the ambassador from Ukraine endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Or how about the one in 2020 when little Zelensky held on to all of the incriminating evidence that would have buried Joe Biden and made the hard drive even unnecessary. Or how about in 2024 when Zelensky got on a plane supplied by Biden and went to a Democratic rally in Pennsylvania, in a key state, on behalf of the Democrats? And they want to talk about Russian collusion, which was a figment of their imagination. This is real. They also made up false documents that were used against Manafort. They made up false allegations against Donald Trump Jr., Ukrainians. My first introduction to their corruption was an informant, actually a head of a major security company, calling me and saying, "You won't believe this, Rudy, but you know what they're claiming Trump did with the Russians? None of that happened. It's really just a projection of what the Democrats are doing with the Ukrainians right to this day. The Ukrainians have been in there corrupting our elections for them for some time because they got a major money sharing scheme that goes back to 2014. Gee, who was the president in 2014? Prince Obama. Prince Obama, the guy who gave cash to terrorists. Well, so now tomorrow, if you can come to Naples, we'll try to get you in. Naples, Florida. If you go to Naples, Italy, I don't know what I could do for you. I'll call my friend Georgia Maloney. I got very friendly with her. She's fabulous. And you'll enjoy this. You could ask me any questions you want. I'm like Trump. I answer them every question. No. I was taught there's no such thing as a difficult question. There's just a bad answer. It's all on me. You ask me anything you want. So you come over and we'll all rally for them. What a nice name. Patriots Club. Patriots for Florida Club. And thank you very, very much. You've been a delight and you've been terrific. And good luck with those schools. And anytime you want to come to Florida, we could use the help.
Thanks for having me. I look forward to sharing some Neapolitan ice cream. Maybe in Naples.
Do they serve that at either of the boss's fine establishments here in South Florida? Can you get Neapolitan ice cream at Mar-a-Lago, or maybe more importantly, the golf course?
You can't get Neapolitan ice cream, no. At Mar-a-Lago, not that I know of.
No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, you can get. I'm sure you can get Neapolitan ice cream down here in Florida. There are a lot of very good Italian restaurants in Palm Beach, but really you got to go a little further south, like Delray Beach, Boca. They have big Italian communities there. They have much bigger Italian communities
like
there.
homemade.
What it really means is they get the right
ice cream.
ingredients. Like this, the restaurant I love to go to in New York, and he gets deliveries from Italy every day.
Oh, which one?
The restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can mention it yet.
Okay.
I'll find out if I can mention it. But it's he gets deliveries from Italy every day, and he's big on the buffalo mozzarella. And
love that.
he'll give you a whole story on the best city in Italy that makes it and what you have to look for, and then he gives it to you, and it's really better than any place else.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
All right. Yeah.
I'm hungry now, so I'm gonna have to sign off. Otherwise, it would be very embarrassing if I fainted. And we really had a very complete week. It seemed like it was 10 weeks that we've just gone through. The president seems like he's been in office for a year now. I thought his speech of the Justice Department would be worth just listening to tonight if you get a chance. Just go listen to the whole thing. Maybe I'm personally invested in it because it was my home, but and we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday. First at 7 with the Rudy Giuliani show, and then 8 with America's Mayor Live. And if anything happens over the weekend of note, maybe Putin finally caves in, or we figure out whether this is a strategy to get back all of Norsk, which is what I think it is. And then if he does it, we got peace, or it's not, we'll be on. And then we'll see you at 8 o'clock on America's Mayor Live. God bless America, and thank you very much.
Frank Hammer, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani had to suffer greatly, greatly. He's the greatest mayor in the history of our country. He had to suffer greatly. Of the past, Americans like Wyatt Earp, Elliot Ness, Frank Hammer, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani had to suffer greatly.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil. tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,